Well, on our trend spotting segment today, we put the spotlight on the state of the Indian fintech ecosystem, especially in the light of the recently concluded Global Fintech Fest. Now, globally, fintech revenue is projected to experience a five-fold surge by 2030. A study by BCG finds that not only does India rank third in terms of number of fintechs and fintech unicorns, it also has the potential to achieve $190 billion in revenues come 2030. Joining me now to talk about this is Saurabh Tripathi, the global leader of financial institutions practice at BCG. Saurabh, welcome to Startup 3. Thank you for your time here. Recently you presented, a report at the GFF about this $190 billion revenue potential for the industry with an upside of another $60 billion. Give us a sense of what is going to drive this growth, because increasingly is a bulk of that expected to come from lending tech, which is the area that fintechs seem to be focusing on away from payments.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. Very excited to be here with the viewers, and good evening to everyone. In fintech today are about 5% of the Indian banking revenue, and by 2030 they are expected to be about 20% of the revenues of the banking system, and about 30% of the value. And over this time frame, we expect the center of gravity of the entire fintech ecosystem of the world to shift east, with Asia Pacific accounting for about $600 billion total revenue. One third of that pointed out. India is a very fertile market. We have got a national strategy on digital. It's very unique in the world, with digital public infrastructure and other such measures, which provide a very fertile ground for fintech innovation, including the fact that there is a very large amount of underbanked population. Now, payments obviously has been one of the biggest things. Lending is the big thing now. That management will come. InsurTech will come. I think there is opportunity in almost every space as far as India is concerned. But one of the spaces that we were very, very excited about was the B2B space, which is the fintech, which actually serve the banks or help the banks become more efficient, more effective. Unlike the rest of the world, Indian ecosystem, this segment is not yet as evolved as we see in other parts of the world, and we hypothesize in this report that this segment will grow really rapidly, and it will also allow for up to $10 billion of revenue from foreign exchange, as the Indian B2B fintech serve the global market.
Sure. Saurabh, what would this mean in terms of revenue contribution? You expect that to go up from 5% to 20% of the overall banking revenue by 2030. Isn't some of this going to come at the cost of banks, even though, of course, the pie is going to get larger?
Yeah, the pie is going to get larger. And this is a very interesting point that I think is not fully appreciated, that the world of banking ecosystem is going to evolve over next years. And the interesting thing is, markets like India, which are getting disrupted in quite a significant manner with a lot of support from government and the regulator, are going to create some sort of a benchmark for how a banking ecosystem in the future should look like. It will be a highly interconnected ecosystem with multiple different players working together with each other. And just to give an example, a simple lending journey in India involves about 50 different API calls to third parties. Right? This is the highest in the world. That's because the fintech ecosystem in India is evolving quite rapidly, and there are a lot of services that the bank needs to provide simple services to the customer. Now, that is how the banking ecosystem, in our view, and BCG's view, is going to evolve. It will evolve in stacks of regulated entities and unregulated entities working together as two layers on top of each other. And by 2030, we'll also have another layer, which is the CBDC layer, which is the public layer, which we expect the Reserve Bank to do. So there will be three layers operating together. So it's not about bank losing out or anything. It's about this ecosystem will evolve. Yes, bank share in this will already come down, but it doesn't mean that banking will not create a lot of value, but then a lot of value will be created in layers around banking.
Saurabh, the report also finds that India needs a 100 to 120 billion funding gap to be filled in critical and emerging technologies. And it also needs substantial both public and private investment in this. How much could come via public offerings alone? You're saying only the current 22 unicorns will probably IPO in the next 6 years.
So, this is a very important point. One very distinctive difference between the fintech ecosystem of India and the rest of the world is that we have mastered the idea of implementing technology at scale, and which of course gives a lot of value. But on critical technologies like blockchain or AI, we don't have fundamental IP being created out of this system. And we believe that in the future, the fintechs will rely a lot on software as a service solutions, and some of them will need to have solid intellectual property in terms of AI models and others to be able to offer them. And so we estimated that if India were to catch up in the fintech ecosystem's maturity, US and China on these advanced technology need an investment of $100 billion. Now, a lot of it obviously will have to be private investment and facilitated by digital public infrastructure that we are setting up, and that will have a 80-20 type of allocation between public and private, also supported by a lot of techno-legal solutions that we are putting in India AI destination. But that investment is still needed. And by public investment, we also mean the investment that should come to the root of universities and publicly funded research to provide more fundamental ground for more IP-driven fintech, not just fintech to provide solutions to solve some problems, but more intellectual property has to be developed.
Sure. Saurabh, unfortunately, we've run out of time, though. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts here. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on.